JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 78. Mrs. Lin fights again. And Ryer's stem-do tastes alone. It is said that Simon King drank with his uncle and went home at night. The next day, Jingdu supervisor rode up early in the morning to thank him and said, "I was very happy when I saw the decree came out yesterday. It shows that the old man loves me so much and he took so much trouble. It is really an unforgettable marriage." After saying that, the tea and soup were changed, and Jingdujian stood up and asked, "When will Mr. Yen invite us to have a drink?" Simon King said, "I can't invite you in the past 2 days, until the first month of the year. Send him to the gate, mount his horse and leave." Simon King slaughtered a fresh bick, 2 jars of Zhejiang wine, a big red velvet gold collar, a black and green silk collar, 100 gold cakes with fruit filling, and thanked the censor of Song Dynasty. Chun Hong was sent to take the post and send it to the procuratorate. The gatekeepers reported in, and the Song Yeshi called him to the fire room in the back hall to enjoy tea. After he wrote his reply, he rewarded Chun Hong with 3 coins. "I came to see Simon King and took it apart to look at it. It read, 'It is a shame to disturb Washington twice. Now that I have been humiliated and humiliated, how can I bear it?' The matter of the foreign orders kissing Jingzi has already been established, and the minister is aware of it. I have been thirsty for Feng Biao for days, and I learned about it face to face. Thank you very much." The waiter Song Qianian came to serve Mr. Simon and Jinyi. The censor of the Song dynasty immediately sent someone to give him 100 calendars, 40,000 pieces of paper, and a pick as a gift in return. One day, the superior issued a document, ordering Uncle Wu Benwei to take charge. When Simon King went to pay his respects, he gave Uncle Wu 30 taels of silver, and 4 pieces of Jingduan to hand over to him for his use. On the 24th, he sealed his seal and came home. He also prepared red scrolls with sheep, wine and flowers, and invited relatives and friends. When Uncle Wu came back from taking office in Wei, he would welcome him home and hold a big banquet to congratulate him. He Qian, whose family members from Tokyo arrived again. Simon King wrote Yunyang's name and sent them tea. On the 26th, 12 Taoist priests from the Jade Emperor Temple Wu Daoguan recited the 100 Days Sutra with Li Pinger at home, arranged rituals, and played loudly. Relatives and friends came to bring tea, and invited them to eat and drink. They dispersed in the evening. It's all beyond words. On the 27th day, Simon King sent gifts to each family. Earl Ying, Xi Zida, Chang Jiji, Gai Fu, Gai Gan, Han Daoguo, Ben Dechuan, and Chui Ben. Each family had half a pick, half a lamb, and a jar. Wine, 2 bags of rice, 1 tael of silver. Sister Li Gui, Wu Yin'er, and Zheng Aiyu were in the courtyard, each have a set of clothes, 3 taels of silver. Wu Yunyang went to fast with Anzu in the nunnery, and ordered Lai An'er to send sesame oil, rice noodles, and money without saying anything. Look at the day of the Lunar New Year. The moon is shining through the plum blossoms. The snow is blowing on the eaves. The bamboos are exploding in thousands of households. Every house has spring stickers, and peach charms are picked everywhere. Simon King burned the paper and went to Li Pinger's room to pay homage in front of his soul. After the sacrifice, wine is placed in the back hall, and the whole family is happy. His family members, servants, maids and daughters-in-law all came to kowtow. Simon King and Wu Yunyang were both rewarded with handkerchiefs, sweat towels and silver coins. On the next day, which was the first day of the first lunar month of the first year of Chong, Simon King got up early and wore bright red clothes. He burned paper in the sky and on the ground, ate snacks, prepared his horse, and went off to celebrate the festival. The Yunyang and other women got up early, applied red powder, arranged flowers and emeralds, wore brocade skirts and embroidered coats, wore stockings and bow shoes, decorated themselves with enchanting makeup, and dressed up happily. They all came to the Yunyang's room to salute. Pingener and the festival leader of that day met at the door, went to the door book, and promised to communicate with officials and scholars. Dian and Wang Jing wore new clothes, new boots and new hats, kicked shuttlecocks at the door, set off firecrackers, and cracked melon seeds. There are countless waiters and supervisors, all of whom are in charge of Chen Jingji. About noon, Simon King came back from paying homage to someone in the county. As soon as he got off his horse, he summoned the 3 officials of the Zhuan prefecture to come to him in their clothes and scarves. He went to the hall and bowed 4 times to Simon King 8 times, and then asked Wu Yunyang to see him. Simon King asked to go to the back, met Yunyang, and came out to sit in the front hall. Just then I picked up the wine and had a drink, and saw thousands of households coming to worship. Simon King asked Chen Jingji to take care of Wang Sangwaner, and he went to sit with He Qianhu in the rolling shed. Wang Sangwan ate for a while, then said goodbye and got up. Chen Jingji saw him out of the gate, mounted his horse and left. Behind them were Jingdu supervisor, Yan commander, and Qiao Dahu, all of whom came in droves. Simon King stayed with them for a day and was half drunk. He sent them away in the evening and went back to his upper room to rest all night. The next morning, he went out to celebrate the festival again. When he came back in the evening, Uncle Han, Earl Ying, Zida, Chang Zhiji and Hua Xiao came to pay their respects. Chen Jingji sat in the hall with him. Simon King arrived, saw Bai Li, and put the wine on the table again to drink. Uncle Han was across the door from Hua Xiao and went first. The remaining count, Zida and Chang Zhiji sat there and refused to leave. I bumped into Uncle Wu arriving again. After seeing the ceremony, he went back to meet Yunyang and came out to sit down. Eat until the lamp has dispersed. Simon King was very drunk after eating, so he sent the Earl away and waited until everyone at the head of the family had gone. Simon King saw Dan standing nearby and squeezed his hand. Dan knew what he meant and said, "There is no one in his house." Simon King crashed into his room. My wife was already at the door to welcome me in. There was no idle chatter between the 2 of them. They walked into the inner room, took off their clothes and started fucking. It turns out that my wife likes to do it with her legs together and fanning her with both hands, just to teach Simon King to please him. The hot water flowed out, soaking the mattress. Simon King dipped the glands in the medicine and pushed it in. He held his waist with both hands and just rubbed it. The handle of the glands was all the way to the root, leaving no hair at all. The woman stared and called her my dear. Then Simon King asked him, "What is your nickname? Tell me." His wife said, "My maiden name is Yi, and I am the 5th sister." Simon King murmured, "Nana, calling you wordlessly." The wife was originally from a breast, had an affair with Bai Si, was abducted, and was taken as his wife. "I am 32 years old this year and I don't know what is going on." His mouth was like water, and he kept calling dear father continuously, and his emotions were so strong that they poured out. Simon King pulled out the stock and wanted to wipe it, but the woman stopped him and said, "Stop wiping it. Wait until the whore comes down and I will suck it clean for you." Simon King was so happy that the woman actually squatted down, held the words in her hands, sucked them cleanly, and then tied her pants. Because he asked Simon King, "Why didn't he come after such a long time?" Simon King said, "I'm also looking forward to him here. I'm just afraid that your father Jia will keep him in the capital." I met my wife 2 or 3 times again. He asked for 2 silver coins. So he said, "I'm afraid Bensi will feel embarrassed if I give you a set of clothes. Why don't I give you some silver and you can buy them at home, open the door and send it out." Diane was already waiting in the shop with the door closed. Simon King went back. The judge heard that since ancient times, if the upper beam was not straight, the lower beam would be crooked. It turned out that B's 4th wife had an affair with Dan first. Dan had just sent Simon King to go in, because Fu didn't sleep in the shop again. He and Ping enter. After drinking 2 large bottles of wine, he ate in his wife's room until the 2nd watch. After Ping rested in the shop, he and his wife slept in the house all night. There is such a thing, exactly, with eyes full of romance and fascination. What's the matter with the remaining flowers being like mud? Picking up the harp and taking a break from Shang Ling's exercises caused the mountain birds to cry around the tree, but it was said that B's 4th wife slept with Diane at night. Because she said to him, "I obeyed my father for a while. I am afraid that the Han sister-in-law next door will know about it later. And she is like the Han lady, who was said a few words by your mother-in-law for a while. How can we meet such shy people?" Diane said, "Now at home, except for my aunt and Wu Nayang who are silent. Nothing else matters." My aunt is fine, but Wu Niang is about to get better. You follow me. What should I buy during the festival? Come in and be filial to my aunt. Nothing else matters. She always eats steamed cakes. You buy a penny for steamed cakes with fruit fillings and a box of big and strong melon seeds. It's the 9th day of the Lunar New Year. It's my mother's birthday. You can give me some more gifts, and I will give you a box of melon seeds. If you don't care about things, keep your mouth shut. This fourth wife of Bai really followed Dan's advice. When Simon King was not at home the next day, Dan bought a box for him and brought it to Yoon Young's room. Yoon Young asked, "Where is it from?" Diane said, "Sister-in-law Ben C gave it to my mother to eat." Yoon Young said, "He's a man and he's not at home. So why don't you ask for money and leave him to worry about it?" He quickly collected them and returned with a box of steamed buns and a box of fruits, saying, "Take it up, thank you very much." On that day, Simon King went home to pay homage. Early in the morning, Taoist official Wu from the Jade Emperor Temple came to pay homage and stayed in the hall to have a drink. Just as Wu Daoguan was sent away, Simon King took off his clothes and asked Dan, "You ride on the horse and ask sister-in-law when my father is coming to pay homage to his wife today." "What do you think?" he said. Dan said, "Dad, before leaving, Tuli Wen's sister-in-law rode on a donkey and passed by the door. He said that tomorrow, on the 4th day of the lunar month, Wang Sangwaner would get up and go to Tokyo to kowtow to Mr. Liu Wang." The wife said, "Jaya will go there on the 6th day of the lunar month to see the festival. He will serve you there." Simon King asked, "Is he really saying this?" Dan said, "No one dares to lie." Simon King then went to the back. As soon as I arrived, Dan sat down in the upper room. Anna suddenly came to report, "Uncle is here." Uncle Wu was seen entering the back hall wearing a crown and a gold belt. He first paid homage to Simon King and said, "I, Wu Keiduo, have been favored and cared for by my brother-in-law. And I have spent a lot of money on my brother-in-law. Thank you for your generous gift. My brother-in-law came down yesterday, and I was not at home. I'm not welcome. Today I come here to kowtow to my brother-in-law. Please forgive me for being slow." After saying that, he kowtowed. Simon King hurriedly returned the favor and said, "Congratulations, Uncle. Why should we care about our relatives?" After paying homage, Yoon Young came out to kowtow to his brother. The panicked uncle hurriedly returned the courtesy and said, "Sister, please give me some courtesy. My brother and sister-in-law don't know what is good and they often come to disturb you and your family. Your brother is getting old, so just take care of him." Yoon Young said, "If I don't go anywhere for a while, Brother Wang will take care of me." Uncle Wu said, "Sister, you have nothing to say. Isn't it tiring for you and me?" After the greetings, Simon King left Uncle Wu to sit and said, "It's too late for us. I didn't expect Uncle to pay respects anymore. It's lenient clothes. Please sit in our room." Unexpectedly, Meng Yulu and Pan Junlian were both in the room. When they heard the shouting that Uncle Wu was coming in, they quickly walked out and kowtowed to him. He kowtowed and went straight to each room. Simon King asked his uncle to sit in his room, set up the table on the brazier, and put out the dishes. Xiao Yu and Yu Xiao both came to kowtow to their uncle. Yoon Young set a small gold bell, poured wine and handed it to her uncle, Simon King, who was in charge of the ceremony. Uncle Wu gave way. "Sister, you come and sit too," Yoon Young said. "I will come." Then he went into the inner room and brought out several fruits and vegetables to go with the wine. While drinking, Simon King asked, "Has Uncle's business been settled?" Uncle Wu said, "I was promoted by my brother-in-law, and I came to the post of Wei Zhangzhang. The top and bottom personnel are all given by Zhou. Only the people in the camp are here. I have never been to take office. Dan Day is a good date. The seal is opened in Weizhang. I come home to sort out some boxes. I have to carry them to the camp to take office. Mr. Ding has ruined things and has been impeached by the patrolling lord. Now that I have taken over the business, I need to clean up the registered households and warn the villagers. They must make it clear that the new management of the old management will be opened tomorrow. Summer taxes can only be collected in the villages." Simon King asked, "How many farms are there in total?" Uncle Wu said, "It was Taezu's old practice to establish this farm in order to raise troops and save the labor of transporting troops. At that time, it was just to receive autumn grain, and later to receive the Prime Minister Wang in Chile. The Green Crops Law increased the summer tax. Today, in the Jeju administration, in addition to deserted areas, reed farms, and harbor passes, there are a total of 27,000 hectares of farmland. The autumn tax and summer tax are only 1,000 taels per hectare, not more than 500 taels, silver. At the end of the year, it was all dumped, and it was paid to Dongping Mansion to attract investment in order to prepare for the role of army grain, horses and grass. Simon King asked again, "Is there any advantage left?" Uncle Wu said, "Although there are still some people who have lost their homes and are not registered, the villagers are stubborn. If the levy is very tight, I am afraid that we will be weighed and measured. Public opinion is made with every word." Simon King said, "If there are only a few, can we say that there is a full expedition?" Uncle Wu said, "To be honest with my brother-in-law, if you can manage this village, you will have 110 taels of silver a year. At the end of the year, families still have some chickens, geese, and rice to send to each other. Those are for everyone to find and are not included in the count. I just rely on my brother-in-law's support." Simon King said, "I have to seduce you, old man, and I will do my best." After saying that, Yun Young also came and sat next to her, and the three of them drank. After lighting a lamp, Uncle Wu just got up and left. Simon King rested in the Golden Lotus room all night. In the morning of the next day, he went to the Yamen to open seals, raise the hall to draw the seals, and distribute official affairs. First, Yunli Shujia posted a post, and on the 5th day of the new year, Simon was invited the next day. Mrs. He Qianhu's wife, Lan, sent a message to invite Sister Yunyang to meet her on the 6th day of the lunar month. It is said that on that day, Simon King, Count Ying, and Uncle Wu got up and went to Yun Li Shu's house. It turns out that there is another house next to it. There are 3 guest rooms with wine, and everyone is playing drums to welcome them. There are tables, and they eat until late in the evening. Where can I wait for Yunyang to go to the house the next day? Everyone went to have a drink. Simon Qingda chose to dress neatly, rode a horse with gauze, followed by Dian and Kintong. In the afternoon, he came to Wang Zhaoxuan's house to pay homage to the festival. Wang Sangwaner was not there, so he sent one tear to him. My sister-in-law was already there, received the post, and quickly reported to Mrs. Lin, "Come out, please sit behind me." He turned around the hall, went to the back, lifted the bright curtain, and saw the floor inside, with the curtain hanging red. After a while, Mrs. Lin, wearing a red robe with red sleeves and green hair, met Simon King. After the ceremony, she sat down for tea and said to him, "Official, take the horse to the back trough and feed it." After tea, Simon King asked Simon King to undress. Sitting in the room, he said, "My son went to Tokyo to kowtow to his uncle-in-law, Li Wang Taiwei, on the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. He only came after the Lantern Festival." Simon King called Dan, took off his upper cover, and wore a white silk scarf underneath. The coat and the azure flying fish cloak are very elegant. There is a table and mat in the woman's room. After a while, the maid brought wine and food. The cups and plates were lined up. The food was piled high. The wine was filled with golden waves, and the jade pistils were cooked in tea. The woman passed the cup with her jade hand, conveyed her love with her eyes, guessed the coins, and rolled the dice, and made the spring come true with her laughter. If you talk for a long time, you will be harmonious and affectionate. If you drink for a long time, your eyes will be troubled and your mind will wander. Look at the sunset and dusk, and the silver candle is burning high in the morning. Diane and Kintong have their own sister-in-law when to take care of them, so they can't come here anytime. The woman also knocked down the corner door, who dared to enter without permission. While they were drinking heavily, the two of them went into the inner room together, opened the embroidered curtain, closed the window, lightly picked the silver vat, and hurriedly covered the red door. The men undressed and went to bed, while the women washed their bodies and went to bed, with precious flowers on their pillows and a bed rolled in red waves. It turned out that Simon King had brought a prostitute bag with him, and he wanted to fight fiercely with this woman. He had already taken Hu Monk's medicinal wine into his stomach. And then he used his double support to lift up the woman's legs under the quilt and let her put the handle into the female. Raise your waist and exert your strength. There will be a burst of stirring and loud sound. The woman is here. She has no words to call her, like running water. It's exactly. Zhao Hai's banners are in the autumn scenery, beating the sky in drums against the bright moon. But see, after the ecstasy formation, the soul-taking flag is open. On the ecstasy formation, a member of the Liquor King appeared, who was able to fight with the devil of sex. Under the soul string banner, there was a pink skull, a charming fox. In this formation, winter and winter are beating, and drums are shaking in spring thunder in that formation. There is a lot of noise, and musk deer and orchids are singing. In this battle, Rong was restored, and he was in good spirits after being turned into a red wave in that battle. He was brushing and stabbing, and the silver hook of the account controller was affectionate. This one is showing off rapidly, and the 24 are left wandering. The one is suddenly stabbing, and the 18th roll is difficult to struggle. After fighting for a long time, he was soaked in sweat and his hairpin was messed up on his temples. After fighting for a long time, he was panting and his pillow was crooked. In an instant, the eyebrows, moon sacs, and eyes were swollen. In an instant, the flesh and skin were split open. Exactly, several fierce battles with greedy prostitutes, but not this one. Immediately, Simon King burned 2 sticks of incense on the woman's heart and vagina, and promised to put wine in the house, and invite him and Sangwaner to watch the lantern show. This woman has been bound physically and mentally by him, so she goes with all the promises. Simon King was so happy that he got up and drank with him. At the second watch, he took the horse out of the back door and said goodbye to go home. It's exactly this. I miss you all day long, leaning against the painting building, reluctant to leave when we meet, and staying again and again. Liu Lang can't say that the peach blossom is old. The waves handle the light red and chase the water. When Simon King arrived home, Ping Ping stopped at the door and said, "Today, Mr. Zhu's family sent someone to send invitations. Please go to the palace outside the door early to see the spring. Second Uncle Yen's family also sent 5 invitations. Please give me 5 invitations. A lady eats wine in moderation." Simon King heard this and entered Yunyang's room. I saw Meng Yulu and Pan Jinlian both sitting in the room. Yunyang went from He Qianhu's house to Shi Lai's house, where she was sitting and talking. Seeing Simon King come in, he quickly said one blessing, because he asked, "Where are you going today, and why are we here?" Simon King had nothing to say, only said, "I'm staying at the second brother Ying's house." Yunyang then talked about what happened at the banquet at He Qianhu's house today. It turns out that He Qianhu's wife is still young. She is only 18 years old this year, and she gave birth to a child who looks like the person on the lamp. She looks like a person, so handsome, and knowledgeable about the present and the past. I went to see me, and it seemed that we had met several times, and we were very happy. I have been married to Mr. He for 2 years, and there are 4 girls in the house, 2 adopted mothers, and 2 family wives. Simon King said, "He is the niece of the eunuch Lan of the Inner Palace. I married him and spent a lot of money with him." Yunyang said, "Tomorrow, Mr. Yen invited me to have a feast and gave me 5 pieces of paper. Are you going to take care of your children's business?" Simon King said, "Since he invites you every time, just go for a walk." Yunyang said, "I'll leave Sister Zhu at home. I'm afraid that during the big festival, a guest will come to the future and he will have nothing to do." Simon King said, "Forget it. Leave Sister Zhu at home, and you can go every 4. Eunuch Zhu invites me to see the spring tomorrow, but I don't want to go. It's not like the spring weather has been strong these past 2 days. It only hurts my waist and legs." Yunyang said, "The pain in your waist and legs is probably due to phlegm fire. Ask medical officer Ren to ask for 2 doses of medicine. Why don't you just take it next to me?" Simon King said, "It doesn't matter. Let him do it. It's been 2 days. Eat and your mind will be purer." Because of the argument with Yunyang, tomorrow is the Lantern Festival. We will have a banquet and drinks. Please invite Mrs. He, Mrs. Lian Zhou guards, Mrs. Jingnang Gang, Zhang's mother, brother Yen's wife, Lian Wang Sangwaner's mother, Da Jinzi, Kui's mother, all of them know how to do it. They only hang up the lanterns on the 12th day of the year. They also ask Wang Wang's family to play pretend for a day. Last year, Ben Si was at home and set up a few fireworks. Forget it. He went to Tokyo this year and didn't even see him coming. But who did he ask to watch over him? Jin Lian interjected from the side. Visi is gone. And his wife's wife is just like me. Simon King then looked at Jin Lian and said, "This little whore, she just said it in 3 sentences. Then Yunyang and Yulu didn't care about it. That's all." Because he said, "Well, Wang Guaner, we have never met him and are not familiar with him. How can we invite him? I'm afraid he won't come." Simon King said, "Since he recognizes me as his bride, let's send him a note. It's up to him whether he comes or not." Yunyang said again, "I won't go to Yen's house tomorrow. With a body near the moon, I will just bump into people and tell them their stories." Yulu said, "What's wrong? You don't show how pregnant you are. I'm afraid the baby isn't this month yet, so it doesn't matter. It's a good time to relax and take a walk during the festival." After saying that, Simon King had tea and went to Sun Zue's room in the back. When Pan Jinlian saw him go into Zue's room, she called her eldest sister and went forward. Simon King came to Yu Zue's room and asked him to beat her legs and pinch her body for half the night. One night scene has been mentioned. In the morning of the next day, I saw Earl Ying coming and said to Simon King, "Yesterday, second sister-in-law Yen sent me a message. Today, I invite you to sit with all the sisters-in-law in the room." There were a few old clothes at home, and they all collapsed. If you don't wear good clothes during the first lunar month, you will be laughed at by others. If you dare to come and cover your sister-in-law, I will lend you 2 sets of clothes and hairpins for my head and face. I will lend them to him to wear. Simon King ordered Wang Jing, "Go and tell your aunt inside." The earl said, "Ying Bao is holding a felt bag and box outside. Brother, if you are tired of taking it in, just pack it out." Wang Jing took the felt bag and carried it out for a long time. He handed it to Ying Bao and said, "There are 2 sets of colored and woven gold clothes, 5 large and small headscarves, and a pair of rings." Ying Bao picked it up. Simon King had tea with the earl and said, "Today, Prime Minister Zhu invited me to watch the spring outside again. How can I find time to go?" Another post was sent to Wu's family temple. And there was a ritual ceremony on the 9th day of the lunar month, but I couldn't go either. I taught the little boy I'm just going to go with my son-in-law. I don't know why I drank too much in the past 2 days. I only have a sore back and can't wait to get started." The earl said, "Brother, it's your fault for drinking. Dampness and phlegm flow into this lower part, so it should be avoided." Simon King said, "Who is willing to let you go so easily during this holiday?" Just as he was talking, Diane brought in the box and said, "Dad, his family sent someone to send invitations. Come on, please have a feast of wine on the 9th day of the lunar month." Simon King said, "You have been watching. Why don't you go when someone comes to invite me?" Then he looked at the box and saw 3 invitations, one with double red, which said Da Yin Zhang Si Quan Wing Old Sir. One wrote Old Mr. Wu of Dadu, and the other said Old Mr. Daxiang Wang Ying. Both of them were He Yangshu. The acolyte bowed his head. Dan said, "If he says he doesn't recognize him, tell us to send him here." When the count saw it, he said, "What's wrong with this? I haven't sent him a gift yet, so how can I go?" Simon King said, "I'll seal the gift for you here. You should send Ying Bao to send it early." That's it. On one side, he ordered Wang Jing, "You seal 2 coins of silver, and on a handkerchief, write the name of your second father and your second father," because he said, "If you put this invitation on your sleeve, I will have someone else give it to you." I only sent Anner, Uncle Wu's messenger. After a while, Wang Jing conferred the title of Polidi and Count. The earl paid tribute and said, "Thank you again, brother. I'll meet you early the day after tomorrow, and we'll get up together." After saying that, Zuo resigned. At noon, Wu Yunyang and others were dressed up, with 1 big sedan and 3 small sedans. Behind them came Hu Yuan, the daughter-in-law of the prince, folding their clothes and wearing a small sedan. The 4 platoon troops shouted, "Kin Tong, Chun Hong for chess boys," and Lion followed, and conductor Xiang Yun came to have a drink. Exactly, the person in the painting with green eyebrows and temples, with a graceful palace waist. Chang'e in the sky has a seed, and her shyness brings out a very spring. Not to mention Yunyang, everyone went to have a drink. Let's talk about Simon King's payment tipping in her at the gate. Ask anyone. Just say I'm not here. If there is a post, just pick it up. After he passed by safely, he dared not leave his left and right sides again and only sat at the head of the door. But some visitors came to visit, but they didn't come home. Simon King suffered from leg pain and suddenly remembered Dr. Ren and his life-extending pills, which he took with human milk. So he came to Li Pingera's room and asked Yingxun to bring vegetables and sift wine to eat. After Yingxun dismissed it, he walked next door and played chess with JinPingMei. If you want tea or water, you can send it as you wish. Simon King saw that the maid was not in the room, so she leaned on the king, reveal those words, wear a silver holder, and teach him to suck it with his mouth. While he was pouring wine to drink, he called out, Zhang sire, my son, please sip for me with all your heart. Tomorrow I will find a beautiful piece of makeup and flowers for you to wear on the 12th day of the first lunar month. My wife said, look how pitiful he is. While they were having a meal, Simon King said, my son, I want to burn incense on you. My wife said, let dad pick and burn it. Simon King ordered him to close the door, take off his skirt, and lie down on the king. Simon King also had 3 soju-soaked fragrant horses left by the Lin family in his sleeves. Leaving aside his bra, one sat in his heart, one sat under his belly, and one was placed on his lid. They lit the benzoin together, then inserted the bottom of the words into the female's body, lowered her head and looked at it, and just kept going back and forth without revealing her brain. Then he took the mirror and looked at it. After a while, the incense burned in front of the flesh. The woman frowned and bit her teeth, enduring the pain. She whispered softly in her mouth, humming together, and shouted without any words, Dada, Daddy, that's all. I can't stand him anymore. Simon King then shouted, Zhang Si, whore, whose wife are you? The woman said, I am my father's wife. Simon King taught him, you said she was Zhang Wang's wife, but today she belongs to my dear Dada. The woman responded, the whore was Zhang Wang's wife, and today she belongs to my dear Dada. Simon King asked again, can I enter Japan? The woman said, Dada will enter Japan. The two were making lewd sounds and talking, and there were no words left unsaid. Simon King's words were thick and thick, filling the woman's vagina. She came and went, with a flower heart as red as a parrot's tongue and as black as a bat's wings, which turned out to be cute. Simon King then held his two buttocks in his arms, intertwined their bodies, and the two sides were touching each other. His words were all gone to the root, and no trace was allowed to escape. The woman was stunned and lost her voice, and her lustful water flowed down her face. Like a spring. Exactly. I don't know the news of spring, but I feel that my bones are melting together. Simon King burned all 3 parts of his wife's body and opened the door to find a black piece of makeup with colorful makeup then Jier with him. In the evening, Yunyang and others came home and said to Simon King, it turns out that second sister-in-law Yen is also pregnant with a large body. We both handed over wine at the banquet today. We said that if the 2 families give birth tomorrow, if it is a boy and a boy, if a girl is a girl, the 2 families will get married and become the in-laws. If they are both boys, they will study in the same house. If they are girls, they will be treated as sisters, and they will be a needle pointer in one place and play tricks with relatives. The second sister-in-law should be the guarantee. Simon King laughed when he heard this. Stop talking nonsense. On the second day, it was Pan Jinlian who celebrated his birthday. Simon King got up early and went to the Yamen. The servants took out the lamps, cleaned them, wiped them clean, and hung them everywhere. Asked Lake Sing to buy fresh fruits, and asked Xiao Yu to celebrate his birthday at night. Pan Jinlian dressed up early in the morning, with colorful makeup and pink lips, and walked into the hall. When he saw Diane and Qin Tong standing on high stools hanging lamps, he smiled and said, I wonder who is here. It turns out it was you who hung the lamps every time. Qin Tong said, today is Wu Niang's birthday, and my father asked me to hang up the lanterns tomorrow. Tomorrow is my mother's birthday and we will serve wine. In the evening, when I kowtow to my mother has decided to reward me for every mile. The woman said, if you want a beating, you will get it, but if you want a reward, there will be no reward. The piano boy said, yeah, Korean music. Why didn't my mother say anything and didn't hit me? She only focused on beating her head. The little ones are my mother's children. It's okay for me to take care of them. How can I just talk about beating them? The woman said, prisoner, don't talk. Please hang up the lamp carefully. There is no chance that it won't be able to hold it firmly and hang it down. A few days ago, for Chue Benbin, you said your father was in Dubai. He disappeared. He was spared a beating, but he was not beaten. This time he was beaten. Kin Tong said, my mother only talks nonsense. My life is thin, and I am bluffing my little one. Dan said, Mom knows how to inquire. How can I know this? The woman said, there is a pine tree outside the palace and a bell inside the palace. How come I don't know about the sound of the bell and the shadow of the tree? Yesterday, your father told your aunt that last year Bensi was at home and set off several fireworks. If he is not at home this year, no one will do it. I said a few words. He is not at home, but he is round. My wife knows how to pierce, so teach him how to pierce. Diane said, what did mother say? There is such a thing at a clerk's house. The woman said, what did you say? Sandalwood Target. There is such a thing. It's true. Painting if we go all the way. I'm afraid we will cross the border to enter Japan. Kin Tong said, Mom, don't listen to anyone else. I'm afraid Baisi's family will know. The woman said, don't hide it from that bastard. I just said that bastard is also a wise bastard. No wonder he went to Tokyo without worries and left his wife at home. No wonder he refused to leave Mao by idle. Thief, prisoner, gentlemen, don't talk. The gangsters took the lead for your father and led to tower. You are always trying to figure out the dog's tail. Is that true or not? Dare you say that I know? You are a thief and an adulterer. My wife came to buy a gift. Just give it to me. She also gave her steamed cakes to his aunt and a big box of melon seeds to me, just to keep my mouth shut. Knowing that it was Diane who was a thief and a prisoner, he made plans for him. Diane said, Mother killed me. Why did I care about his business? I didn't go to his house for a while. Mother also didn't listen to what Han Huizi's wife said. The two of them didn't make a fuss over the children. As the saying goes, be good but not seduce, and be evil immediately. Don't kill people if you suppress the house, and suppress people with the tongue. There will be listeners, but there will be no listeners. Speaking of it, Mrs. Baisi is an amiable person. She lives at the head of our family. There is no big or small problem in the family. I know someone badly. Whoever doesn't ask for tea and food in his room, why don't they feed him? There's no place to put him. Jinlian said, I saw that whore with watery eyes, who was as short as a brick, squeezing the water into her eyes and scooping it up with a ladle. What a strange whore. He and that Han Daoguo's wife, that whore who grew up breaking melons. I don't know why I pinched my eyes and didn't want to see him. Just as he was talking, Xiao Yu came up and said, my mother-in-law invites Wu Niang. Grandma Pan is here and wants money for the sedan chair. Jin Lian said, I'm standing here. Did he go in from Duozhen? Kin Tong said, Grandma got in through the double passage. The sedan that came out deserves 6 cents of silver. Jin Lian said, how can I get money? Why don't you take the money for the sedan chair when you come to someone else's house? When he walked to the back, he saw his mother, but she didn't want to give him the money for the sedan chair and just said she didn't have it. Yu Nyang said, you and Grandma just have 1 penny and just write the account. Jin Lian said, I don't want to mess with him. He has a lot of money. He only teaches me how to buy things, not how to pay for the sedan chair. After sitting there for a while, I looked at the big eyes and the small ones, and the people standing in the sedan chairs outside urged me to go. Seeing that it was nothing, Yulu took out a penny from his sleeve and sent the sedan bearer away. After a while, the eldest concubine, the second concubine, and the great master came, and Yunyang served tea. Grandma Pan returned to his daughter's room in front, but Jin Lian scolded her as hard as she could, saying, you don't have money for the sedan chair. who will teach you how to do it. You are making a fool of yourself, and others will look down upon you. Grandma Pan said, Sister, you didn't give me any money. How can I ask for some money? It's so easy to prepare this gift. The woman said, You want to ask me for money? Where can I get some money from you? You see, there are 7 to 8 holes waiting here. From now on, if you see money for a sedan chair, come to his house. If you don't have money for a sedan chair, come to his house. Don't come. I guess he has a close relative like you. Don't make a gift package for Da. King Guan sells tofu. People are tough, but goods are not tough. I can't listen to that kind of Maobai voice. You're so angry. I went there for you the day before yesterday and made a lot of noise with others. Do you know why? The ball of donkey dung is bright in front of you, but you don't know that you are miserable inside. After saying a few words, Grandma Pan started to sob and cry. Chunmai said, What's wrong with you today? You just talk about Grandma. While comforting the old man, he sat on the kang inside and quickly ordered a cup of tea to eat with him. Grandma Pan was so angry that she slept on the kang for a while, only to get up and go to the back when she saw someone inviting her to eat. Simon King came home from the Yemen and was serving food in the upper room. Suddenly Diane came in and said, Dad Jing has been promoted to the governor of the southeast. Come to pay homage to me. When Simon King saw the post, it was written, Jing Zhang, the commander-in-chief of the new southeast and supervising water transportation. Bowed his head. Simon King was so panicked that he quickly dressed and wore a hat to welcome him out. I saw the capital chief wearing a red unicorn patch uniform and bringing in pure gold, followed by many officials and military prisoners. After the ceremony was completed, guests were seated separately in the hall, and tea and soup were served. Jing Tongji said, The promotion letter just arrived the day before yesterday. I haven't taken office yet, so I came to pay my respects to the old man. Simon King said, Congratulations, boss, on your promotion to the army. A great talent will be of great use, which is the way of nature. We also have a bright future, so I should congratulate you. On the one hand, I beg you to be respectful and to sit down for one less meal, even after he ordered Jord to be released. Jing Tongji thanked him again and again, and said, The student told me that the family has not worshipped yet, and there is still a lot of work to do. Please come back later to ask for advice. He was about to get up, and Simon King was willing to let him go. He came up from left and right as ordered, took off his clothes, immediately wiped the spring platform, and packed up the wine and fruits. The charcoal is burning, and the curtain is lowered. The liquid was poured into the golden pot, and the lamb was stored in the emerald cup. Then the wine was poured in. Zheng Chen and Wang Xiang were seen arriving, kowtowing in front of them. Simon King said, Why did you to come here like this? Asked Zheng Chen. What's the name of that one? Zheng Chen said, He calls Wang Xiang, and he is Wang Gui's brother. Simon King immediately brought up musical instruments to play and sing. After a while, the two young brothers sang a set of Jijing harmony. On the left and right, he took 2 plates of snacks and rice, 2 bottles of wine, and sent the people on horseback to wait. Jing Tongji said, That's not the case. The students are making trouble, and the servants are given food. How can they be worthy? He was ordered to come up and kowtow. Simon King said, On the next day or 2, I will sincerely ask Mrs. Unjang to enjoy the lanterns, and say something about it in the house, and hope that the beggars will come down. Those present are the old lady, Mrs. Zhang's family, my colleague Mrs. He Tianquan, and 2 other relatives. There are no more others. Jing Tongji said, If the old lady respects the vote system, Jing will definitely follow her. He asked again, Why didn't Mr. Zhou get promoted? Jing Tongji said, I heard that Zhou Zhexuan only got promoted in March. Simon King said, That's all. After sitting for a short time, Jing Tongji said goodbye and stood up. Simon King saw him out of the gate, watched him mount his horse, and shouted away. In the evening, Pan Jinlian celebrated her birthday. Xiao Yu played and sang in the back hall. After passing the wine, Simon King got up and went to Jinlian's room. Yunyan accompanied Da Jinzi, Grandma Pan, her daughter Sister Yu, and 2 sisters-in-law to drink at the Shangfang party. Pan Jinlian accompanied Simon King in his room, ranged for wine to be served, and kowtowed with Simon King. Grandma Pan arrived after falling behind, and Jin Lian sent her to rest over Li Pinger. He accompanied Simon King to drink and play freely, but when Grandma Pan went to the room over there, Rui and Yingshan asked him to sit on the hot bed. First, my grandma saw that in front of the inner spirit in the bright room, there were many victory tables for the Lion Immortal and the 5 elders, with his shadow hanging next to them. So he asked forward and said, "My sister has passed away." He came in and sat on the king, and said to Ryer and Yingxun, "Your mother is hooked." The official took the trouble to recommend her and receive such a big support. "He is hooked. He is blessed." Ryer said, "It was my mother's birthday the day before yesterday. I invited Grandma. Why didn't she come?" Outside the door, the flower girl and the girl came here. 12 Taoist priests chanted sutras, played a lot, raised banners in the dojo, and practiced water and fire. When just in the evening, Grandma Pan said, "We are celebrating New Year's Day and I left a child at home. There was no one at home when I came, so I didn't come. Why are you, Miss Young, missing today?" Ryer said, "Grandma still doesn't know that Miss Young died of old illness. My mother has not been here since the New Year to recite sutras. My mothers have all gone north to offer sacrifices to him," Grandma Pan said. "It's sad. He is as big as me, and I don't know that he is gone." He asked why he didn't see him today. After talking about it, Ryer said, "Grandma, I have some sweet wine. You old man, can use some?" One side shouted, "Sister Yingxun, please put Xiaojuer on the king. Sip the sweet wine and have a cup with Grandma." Not available immediately. While drinking, the mother-in-law mentioned Li Pinger again. "Your mother is a good person, a kind sister, and a warm-hearted person. I have never treated my mother as an outsider since I came here. As soon as I arrived, she was served with hot tea and hot water. I ate, but I just hated that I didn't eat." He sat with me in the evening and talked. Before I went home, he packed something with me and took it with me, so he never left me empty. To tell you the truth, every time your sister said, "I was wearing this coat belongs to your mother and me." If my true enemy is willing to give me a penny, I won't tell lies. Amitabha, son. I dropped my eyes to the ground. "What did your mother say to me?" She also said that I have small eyes and thin skin and love other people's things. "I want to pay for the sedan today. And your Big Bao family has the money to pay for me. What about sharing the toilet?" He gritted his teeth and said no. When he went to the restroom behind the school, his sister took out a penny and sent the sedan bearer away. When he got back to the house, he even scolded me. "There will be a sedan chair tomorrow. If you have money, teach me how to come. If you don't have money for a sedan, don't ask me to come to your door. I won't come back now. I won't be angry with him when I come here. Let him go. There are people in the world who are cruel, not as short-lived as mine." Sister, every time you listen to me, if you die, you will not listen to others. Until tomorrow, and you still don't know how to harvest the fruits, thinking about how you have lost me since you were 7 years old. How can I protect you until now? And pay attention to you since you were a child. You do acupuncture and go to Yu Shukai's house to attend a girls' school. How do you have your hands and feet tied up? You are born to be so smart and smart. How can you reach this stage? He drank your mother over and cut her off without even looking at her. Ryer said, "It turns out that Wan Yang has learned to read since she was a child, and she can read well when she talks about anger and Taoism." Grandma Pan said, "He went to girls' school when he was 7 years old. He went to a girls' school for 3 years. He even wrote some poems, songs that he couldn't read in his handwriting." Just as he was talking, he saw the door knocking at the corner. Ryer said, "Who called the door?" Shu Chun said, "Take a look." Na Shu Chun came up and said, "Sister Chun Mai is here." Ryer quickly squeezed Grandma Pan's hand and said, "Grandma, be quiet. Chun Mai is here." Grandma Pan said, "I know that he is related to my enemy." Chun Mai came in and saw everyone eating wine with Grandma Pan, and said, "I came to see Grandma Pan." Ryer asked him to sit down, and Chun Mai picked up her skirt and sat down on the kang. Yingxun sat next to him. Rui sat on the right side of the kang. and Grandma Pan sat in the middle. Because he asked, "Have your father and your mother slept together?" JinPingMei said, "I sent them to sleep just now. I came here to see Grandma. I have a few dishes and a pot of wine. I brought them over and mixed them with you. Grandma is sitting there." Yin Yang and Shu Chun said, "You taught Qiu to pick it up over there. I have already saved it." Shu Chun went, and after a while, Qiu was carrying vegetables in a box, and Shu Chun brought a tin pot of Jinhua wine. JinPingMei said to Qiu, "Look into the room. If you call me, come here and tell me." Qiu went. While wine was placed on the kangjuo, there were roast duck, ham, seafood, etc., all piled up on the chuntai. Shu Chun closed the corner door, walked in and sat next to him, and then poured out the wine. JinPingMei first handed over a bell to Grandma Pan, and then handed over Ryer to Yingxin and Shu Chun. Then he picked out everything from the protective plate, handed it to Grandma and everyone to eat, and said, "Grandma, these are whole dishes. You can use some." The woman said, "My sister, I am old," because she said, "Even your mother has never bothered to take care of me and take care of my children. Sister, you have the heart to cherish your loneliness and love your old age. You will take care of things one step at a time tomorrow. You dared to be my enemy. He is heartless and unrighteous. I have been jealous of him several times, and I have tried to persuade him, but I have lost my composure. Sister, you looked at me this morning. I came to your house to ask for help, so be honest and wait for me." JinPingMei said, "Grandma, come on. You only know one thing, but not the other. My mother is a woman who strives for the strong and never surrenders to the weak. I can't compare with Liu Niang, who has money of her own, but he doesn't have any money in his hands. You just said that he is not with you. Others don't know, but I know. Even though my father has some money in the house, my mother doesn't look at him seriously. If you want to buy flowers and things, I will ask you justly. He wants it. He doesn't want to hide anything and makes others look down on him. How can he open his mouth and talk about others? He has no money, and Grandma blames him, so it's a loss for him. Why don't I protect him? He also wants justice." Ryer said, "I wrongly blamed Wu Niang. Since ancient times, if Wu Niang is rich and unfilial to Grandma, who will she marry? As the saying goes, if you want to see your mother, 1,000 peach blossoms will grow from one tree, and tomorrow you will be rich." After entering the closet, Wu Niang has no close relatives, just like my mother is dead. The mother-in-law said, "Do I know whether I will die today or tomorrow? I don't blame him." When JinPingMei saw that her mother-in-law had been drinking for 2 minutes and the shao knife came up, she called Yingxun, "Second sister, please bring the dice basin. Let's grab the red and play with the dice every time we roll a dice." After a while, a dice basin with 40 dice was brought. JinPingMei first threw it with Ryer, once, and then with Yingxun, both betting on the big bowl, "One for you, one for me." In a moment, bamboo leaves penetrated the heart, peach blossoms appeared on the face, and a tin bottle of wine was consumed. Yingxun brought another half jar of magu wine and ate it all. Round the second watch, Grandma Pan couldn't stand it any longer, so she leaned back and dozed off again. JinPingMei came back here, pushed the corner door open, and entered the courtyard. I saw Qiu in the open wall, leaning on a spring stool, listening to the two of them making love in the room, calling out something. While listening to the commotion, JinPingMei unexpectedly walked up to Zhen, slapped him on the cheek as hard as she could, and scolded him, "You thief! You little prisoner slave! What are you listening to here for no reason?" The beating made Qiu open her eyes. He said, "I'm taking a nap here. Whoever hears something comes, and you beat me." Unexpectedly, the woman in the room heard her, so she asked JinPingMei who he was talking to. JinPingMei said, "There is no one. I asked him to close the door, but he didn't move, so I checked it for him." Qiu rubbed her eyes and closed the door. JinPingMei walked to the kang, picked up her head and fell asleep. Exactly, Yuan Yu deliberately leaves behind the scene. Du Yu is ruthlessly in love with Wen Hui. One night scene has been mentioned. The next day, Pan Jinlian's birthday, there were Fufu, Gan, Si Niangxi, Zhui Ben's wife, Duan's sister Wu Shenshen's wife, Zheng Sanji, and Wu Jinzi, all here. Simon King met Uncle Wu and Earl Ying, dressed up, looked at them respectfully, rode on horseback and shouted, "Go in to attend the banquet at thousands of households." There were also many officials and guests that day, for singers were juggling together, and the guards were drinking at the same table. When I got home at night, I rested with Ryer in front. On the 10th day of the lunar month, she posted a post inviting all the officials and ladies to have a drink. Yoon then asked Simon King, "While we are watching the lanterns and wine on the 12th day, please invite Aunt Meng and my eldest sister who are outside the door to sit with us. Teach him to know how to be troubled and not to invite others." Simon King said, "You were the one who said it earlier." Chen Jingji said, "Write to more posts and ask Qin Tenger to go." Pan Jinlian was nearby, listening to the worry, walked into the room, and encouraged Grandma Pan to get up. Yoon said, "Grandma, why are you panicking? Just wait for one more day." Jin Lian said, "Sister, during the first month of the year, his child is left at home with no one to look after him. Just teach him to go away." The panicked Yoon packed boxes of snacks and tea, gave him a penny for the sedan, and sent him away. Jin Lianian said to Li Jiar, "Tomorrow he will invite his rich aunt to watch the lights and have wine. She is an old trader who is squinting. If she doesn't send her away, why don't she teach her what to do in the house? If you say he is a guest, you don't have good clothes to wear. If you say he is a mother setting fire to you, it doesn't look like him. It doesn't make me angry." Because Simon King and Boy Diana sent 2 invitations to Zhaoshuan Mansion, one to invite Mrs. Lin and the other to Wang Sangwaner's wife Wang. He also ordered for singers in his courtyard, Li Geier, Wu Yinar, Zhang Aiyuer, and Hong Sire, and 3 young talents, Li Ming, Wu Hui, and Zheng Feng. I didn't expect that Ben Si would come home from Tokyo that day, wash his hair and face, pick out his clothes, and kowtow to Simon King, hand over Commander Shia's reply. Simon King asked, "Why don't you come here at this time?" Ben Sigu said that he was catching a cold in Beijing. It wasn't until the 2nd day of the first lunar month that he got up and came back. Dajia paid more attention to him and took care of him. Simon King still taught him the keys to the woolen thread shop, open another room and teach Uncle Wu to open a shop to sell silk and silk. Tomorrow, when the goods from Songjing arrive, they will be unloaded in the Shizi Street room and come together to ensure the sales. Let Baisi beg a flower craftsman to build a fireworks at home, which will be displayed for the guests to watch on the 12th. I saw Earl Ying leading Li San to see Simon King and first talk about the external affairs. After sitting down to have tea, he just said, "Brother Li San has a business to tell you today. Will you do it or not?" Simon King said, "What business?" Li Sandao said, "You can send a document from Tokyo to the 13 provinces of the world. Each province requires tens of thousands of tales of ancient artifacts. Our Dongping Prefecture has been assigned 20,000 tales, and the approval document is at the inspection office and has not yet come down. Now on the street, Zhang Erguin's office has spent 200 tales of silver to do this batch. If you want to do it, you have to find 10,000 tales of silver." The villain met his second uncle and came to tell his father respectfully, "If my father does it, Zhang Er's government will come up with 5,000 tales, and my father will come up with 5,000 tales." The 2 families are jointly engaged in this business. There is no one around. Here are the second uncle, the villain, and the 4th brother Huang. He also has 2 clerks over there, 2 and 8 profit. "I don't know what the father wants," Simon King asked. "What kind of ancient artifact is it?" Li San said, "I still don't know, but now the newly built Zhenyu in the Imperial City has been changed to Shuyu, with many pavilions and pavilions built on it, and the King Baolu Palace, Hizen Hall, Chuan Temple, and the dressing pavilion of Concubine all use this rare bird and strange beast, Zhou Yisheng tripod, Han seal furnace and Qin furnace, Zhuanwang stone drum, copper leather of the past dynasties, cactus stew tray, and rare antique toys and furnishings. So much construction, so little money and food." After hearing this, Simon King said, "It's better to do it myself than if I teamed up with others to do it. I don't think I can afford 10,000 or 20,000. Money coming?" Li Sandao said, "It's good that Dad has done everything. I always keep it secret from him. There are 2 uncles and me in the left and right. And there is no one else? The Earl asked. Brother, do you want to add someone to the family? Simon King said, I will add by C in front of the root, and I will just walk and dance for you. Simon King asked again, where is the approval document? Lee Sandow said, it's still on the patrol and hasn't been issued yet. Simon King said, it doesn't matter. I'll send someone to write a letter and seal some gifts. And just ask Song Yuan about the future. Lee Sandow said, if you ask for it. Dad, don't delay. Since ancient times, soldiers have been quick, and those who eat rice first eat first. I'm afraid it will be late, so go to the house and eat what others have done. Simon King smiled and said, if you are not afraid of him, just go to the mansion and I will teach Song Yuan to take it back. Even Hu Fuan, I will recognize him. So Lee San and the Earl were left to have dinner and date together. I will write a book now, and I will pay a small price tomorrow. Lee Sandow, one more thing. Father Song is no longer here at the hospital. He got up the day before yesterday and went to Yanzhou Mansion to make inquiries. Simon King said, tomorrow you and Xiaobai will go to Yanzhou Mansion. Lee San said, it doesn't matter. Just wait for me to go back and forth for 5 or 6 days. Dad will send the housekeeper to wait until I get off and have a book to teach him to rest where I am. I will get up early with him tomorrow. Simon King said, if you don't believe it, Father Song. He always likes Chen Hong, so just call Chen Hong and Lai Ju. So he asked the 2 of them to come over, met Lee San, and spent the night at his house. The Earl said, this is the best thing to do. Things should be done early, and those who are talented and quick will get it first. So he and Lee San finished their meal and left. Simon King immediately taught Chen Jingji how to write a book, and sealed the book with 12 leaves of gold on a handkerchief, along with Chen Hong and Lai Ju, paying, be careful on the way. If you ask for approval, you can come early. If you go to the mansion, ask your father Song for a ticket. Ask the mansion for it. Lai Ju said, Dad, I don't have to pay for it. I promised Counselor Zhu in Changzhou. I know it. So he received the gift of a letter, put it beside him, and went straight to Lee San's house. Not to mention that on the 11th day, Lai Ju, Chen Hong and Lee San hired Chang Xingshou early and went to Yanzhou Mansion. But on the 12th, Simon King invited guests to drink at his home. I didn't go out at home that day, so I made an appointment with Uncle Wu, Zida and Chang Jiji to come and enjoy the lanterns and drink in the rolling shed in the evening. The young man from Wang Huang's family has been picking up boxes since early morning. When the guests arrive, he plays gongs and drums to welcome them. Zhou Shu's wife had an eye problem and was unable to come, so she sent someone back. Only Lady Jing Tongxi, Lady Zhang Tuanlian, Lady Yun Commander, as well as Kiao's mother, Kui's mother, Aunt Wu and Aunt Ming all arrived first. Only Mrs. He Qianhu, Wang Sangwen's mother Mrs. Lin and Wang Sangwen's wife were not seen. Simon King's son Peijian, Dian, and Qin Tung are back and forth to urge the invitation 2 or 3 times, and then sent Wen Sauer to urge the invitation. At noon, I saw Lin's big sedan and a small sedan following him. After seeing the ceremony, he invited Simon King to pay his respects and asked, why don't the 3 official ladies come? Mrs. Lin said, my son is not here, and there is no one at home. After paying homage, come down. There were only 1,000 ladies from thousands of families who did not arrive until noon. They were sitting in a sedan chair with 4 people, followed by a family member's daughter-in-law in a small sedan chair. The platoon troops were carrying the suitcases, and the men in green were holding onto the sedan chairs. They arrived at the second gate. Get off the sedan. There were drums, music and playing to welcome him, and Wu Yunyang and other sisters came to the head of the ceremony gate. Simon King was quietly in the west wing. He lowered the curtain and took a peek. He saw that Lan was about 20 years old. He had a tall figure and was dressed like pink makeup and jade. His head was full of pearls and jade, and he had 2 phoenixes, wearing a bright red unicorn robe with full sleeves, 5-color makeup and 4 animals, a golden-laid jasper belt, and a blue skirt with floral brocade underneath. There are jingling sounds on both sides, and musk orchid is tangy to the nose, but see, charming appearance and light body. The posture and character are all bright and clear, and the figure is neither short nor long. Two thin and curved moth eyebrows penetrate directly into the temples. A pair of trickling phoenix eyes look at people coming and going. Her sweet voice is like a warbler singing on the sun, and her tender waist is like a willow blowing in the wind. One was born in the Kiluo team, but disliked the luxurious atmosphere. Growing up among the pearls and green bushes, it was elegant and light. Begonia flowers are blooming all over. No matter how late the night is, there are still willow catkins in bloom, but I don't know what spring is like. Moving lightly on the lotus steps, she has the grace of a pistol pearl fairy. Her puckered xiang skirt resembles the attitude of the water moon of Valakitasvara. Exactly, flowers explain language better than jade, and produce fragrance better than jade. This Simon King is gone. His soul flies into the sky, and his soul is lost in the sky. He has never had any physical contact, and his essence is lost first. After a while, Yoon and others welcomed her into the back hall. After the meeting and the ceremony, Simon Tai was invited to pay her respects. When Simon King heard this, he quickly straightened his clothes and saluted. As if the jade trees in the Kiang forest were coming to earth, and the god witch mountain descended, he bowed and saluted. His heart was shaken and he couldn't stop it. After the visit, Yoon first served tea in the rolling booth, then played music in the hall, and sat down at the banquet. Everyone took their order. Now Mrs. Lin came to the banquet. The opera plays the role of the story of Xiao Tiangxiang Chao Yuan at midnight. After singing to Folds, Li Guiji, Wu Yin'er, Zhang Yuer, and Hong Sire started singing and played and sang the lantern lyrics. Simon King was in the rolling shed with his three little boys. Uncle Wu, Count Ying, Zi Zida, Chang Jiji, Li Ming, Wu Hui and Zheng Feng playing, singing and drinking. They stopped and looked in from outside the hall. The judge heard that the bright moon is not always full, and the colorful clouds are easy to disperse. It is natural to be extremely happy and miserable, but whether it is extremely peaceful. Simon King only knows how to fight for fame and wealth, and indulges in extravagance and lewdness. Little does he know that the evil ways of heaven are evil, ghosts are chasing him, and death is imminent. At night, the lights are lit in the hall and the little children play and sing. Before it was time to wake up, Simon King, who was sitting with others, dozed off on the table. The Earl ordered Guimei to fool him and said, "Brother, you are not happy today. Why do you just doze off?" Simon King said, "I didn't sleep yesterday. For some reason, I just have no energy today and want to doze off." Only 4 people were able to sing. The Earl taught Hong Sire and Zheng Yuer how to play and sing, while Wu Yin'er and Sister Li Gui handed the wine. While they were enjoying themselves in a busy place, Diane suddenly came to report, "Mrs. Wang and Father He are getting up." Simon King came down from the banquet, walked to the back of the second door in the darkness, and peeped at him getting into the sedan chair. Yoon and others sent them out, and watched the fireworks in the courtyard in front. Mr. Lan has changed into a bright red mink fur coat, and Mrs. Lin is wearing a white silk coat, a mink cloak, and a golden necklace. Family members lit lanterns and crowded into sedan chairs to leave. This Simon King is about to be hungry. His mouth is full of food, and he wishes he could get married. Seeing that Lan's family was gone, he quietly came in through the passage. It was a coincidence that the marriage would come together, but something unexpected happened. Lai Ju's daughter-in-law saw that the guests had dispersed and was coming back from behind. When she opened the door, she didn't want to bump into Simon King and had no place to hide. It turns out that Simon King has been relieved for a long time after seeing his daughter-in-law's son Kiao Yang. Although he is not as romantic as Lai Wang's wife Song, he is still a good second, so he took advantage of the wine and took him into his room for a kiss. This wife was originally in Wang Wang's family. Because she was the adopted master, her family was angry and sent her away. Today, she is on the same path again. How can she not obey? Then he put his tongue into Simon King's mouth. The two of them undressed and took off their trousers, pressed them on the edge of the king, and stretched out their legs. Simon King shrugged them off in joy. "Exactly, I have never met Ying Niang, so I have to go to the matchmaker to satisfy my craving. There is a poem to prove it. The light of the lamp and the moon dips into the jade pot, and the green beads are clearly illuminated. Don't tell me that you will eventually have a wife and teach people to look for Luofu and the mulberry tree.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.